Gear Patrol calls their new dive watch the best sub-$500 dive watch. Full stop. Men's Health rated them as the most stylish solar watch in the game. Who are we talking about? It's Movement. They're leveling up your gift giving with the sleekest watches you can buy and the biggest deals of the season. From their innovative ceramic materials to sexy automatic divers, from ultra-thin dress watches to solar-powered statement pieces, and everything in between, Movement is making sure you're the good gifter this year for your family, your friends, or for yourself. And now you can take advantage of 30 to 50% off Movement's California clean watches, jewelry, and accessories to get them a gift they'll never forget. With fast, free shipping and returns and amazing bang for your buck, Movement makes for a relaxed shopping experience. And with one-size-fits-all watches, it's an easy, elegant gifting experience too. Shop 30 to 50% off now at MVMT.com. That's MVMT.com.
Vlogmas Podcast, episode 19. My name is Tim Mitchell, and I'm in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined once again by Jaime Lopez in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
And we're also joined by Jonathan Kuline over there in Mr. Mississauga.
Hello.
Alrighty. So here we are 19 episodes in. So we always start off our show with a fact check. Jonathan, you only have one item on here.
One item. We did a nice clean episode last time. That's good to see. Only one thing, 2504. We were discussing what were the last couple of Tomb Raider games that inspired the new film. So Tomb Raider 2013 and Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was 2015 for Xbox and 2016 for PS4.
Right. So the Tomb Raider, it was just called Tomb Raider, the 2013 one, the reboot?
The reboot,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's the one that won all the awards. Anyway, I was telling Jonathan we were watching the preview of the new movie with Alyssa Vikander that couple of the scenes, like the whole beginning of the story with her in a boat going somewhere and the boat crashing and you see her jumping off the boat at the end, that's how the game begins, right? So what you see in the trailer is pretty much mostly what you see in the game, but the Rise of the Tomb Raider is more like a little less of a story. I guess it's kind of episodic, like it's a big long world. It's really cool reboot. Like it's just big giant world you have to sort of navigate through, right? So we have some follow up from last week's show. My first thing on my follow up is I watched the first episode of the latest season of X Files, and I it was brutal. I don't know if you watched any of it, Jonathan, but
I someday look forward to watching my first episode of X-Files, but alas, it was not this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I can tell you that if you're a fan of the show and you're not disappointed by the first episode, like it was painful to watch. Like it was just dreadful. I couldn't believe it. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to spoil it for people. I don't want to ruin the displeasure that you'll have watching that show. So.
All right. Well, I've got like 11 other seasons to get through first, but I'll look forward to that.
So you've never watched X-Files at all? Like at all?
When it first came.
Oh, back in the day.
When it first came on back in the 90s, I was in my, I guess, teens, and it was a Friday night show, and Friday night was not necessarily a night where I was around for it much. So, and that was, back then, believe it or not, you had to set a VCR if you wanted to tape stuff. So I never really got into it, and by the time it sort of became a thing was a couple of seasons in, and there wasn't really that sort of easy to catch up on demand kind of world. So I always felt sort of out of the loop, and then, of course, they started putting out the season sets. I was like, well, eventually I'll sit down, but it's daunting to look at 10 seasons of a show especially because it wasn't like they were doing like the, 10 episode seasons. These were like 22 episode seasons. To know that you have an hour long show that you have to watch 220 of them to catch up is daunting. So it just, I know it's good. I've heard great things about it. I have friends who are, avid viewers, and I know that it's part of the zeitgeist, but it just, it has always felt very distant for me. So I haven't dipped my toe into that one, and it's on my when I retire and have plenty of time to sit around and watch.
I'll be listening to Rolling Stones then. Yeah. I know how you feel. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's some sort of threads that run through. There are some plots that run through, like in a sort of serialized fashion. I don't necessarily think it's a show that you have to watch from beginning to end. You can just. I mean, I started watching in the middle of a season, and I probably don't think I missed many, but I missed a few. I don't think you really lose a lot by missing that stuff, right? So
yeah, I mean, I got that there was sort of a large larger thread that sort of weaved through it about aliens and smoking guys, and again,
this Cancer Man was a Canadian actor, by the way.
Yeah, it was so much part of the zeitgeist. It's funny, I haven't really watched. I think I might have watched one episode. Now that I think of it, I think I remember watching one, one day. But I feel like it was.
So you didn't go to the movies with us when the X-Files came out?
No, I feel like it was just so much part of the zeitgeist that I know a lot about the show with never having watched it. Like, it's just so it's out there, right? Like, it's it was pre-social media. It was still very connected to the rise of the internet, and
sure, I'm sure The Simpsons had played it up, and
it's just been part of pop culture for so long, right? Like all the catchphrases, the characters, the
I want to believe, yes. Anyway, all right. Thanks to Amazon. Oh yeah, so this is an interesting post I got here from Gizmodo. There's a post here about thanks to Amazon, it's now slightly less annoying to watch Star Trek Discovery. So Amazon Prime is now going to be allowing you to watch the content from CBS All Access. However, you still have to pay, I think it's $9. Is that right, Hammy? You pay $9 for the pleasure of watching CBS All Access?
I'm actually on the $6 or $5.99 plan, which has commercial advertisements within it.
Oh, okay,
It looks like this one only includes the advertising-free version, so it's the more expensive one that you would get.
Oh, is it? Okay,
through Amazon.
But it's not like you get it through. Like, it's not you have to have it. You don't have to have another service, I guess, but you still have to pay the extra money for it, or somehow. I'm not sure how it works.
I think the makes it. What does the article say? Makes it slightly less annoying is that you wouldn't have to have another channel, like on your Roku or Apple TV, whatever it is you're streaming. Yeah. Like, you still have to pay for it, of course. But rather than having sort of a bespoke channel, you could have it go through Amazon's interface. And I know that
so is it kind of an in-app purchase kind of idea? Like, do you pay a separate service, or?
I haven't actually used these, so I'm kind of speculating for what I've seen in Amazon's interface. But I've seen Showtime and HBO and
interface through Amazon.
Yeah, so like Amazon's interface that you would normally view, Amazon's original television and stuff that's available for their Prime members, and videos you can rent or buy. That same sort of interface, you could just say, add an HBO Now subscription, or I guess now you can add CBS All Access and view it through that interface, as opposed to having to have now I need to go download the CBS All Access channel and then sign in with my login, whereas I'm already logged into Amazon, is I think the selling point there.
Yeah, this is like the slippery slope we have with our cable access TV shows up here. Like, my wife wants to watch a particular channel, but I have to have this whole other package and then pay an extra $5.99 for these channels that she watches. And I mean, admittedly, I watch them every now and then too, just because I'm paying for them. I got to watch something on them. But yeah, it's they kind of just pile it on, and then you end up with a big bill. I'm not a big fan of that kind of. I'm sure it's great for the providers, but as a consumer, I find it annoying to pay for things that especially I'm not going to watch. Right? Anyway, I guess it's if you haven't signed up for CBS All Access and you want to follow along on our podcast and watch Discovery, I'm sure if you're already watching Discovery, you're already paying for it. And if you're a fan of this show, I guess, right?
Unless you live in Canada, in which case it comes with your cable. Woo!
It comes for free. Well, again, I still have to pay for the package that has Space Channel on it, right?
Yeah, that's true. Although, don't they show it on space.com?
They may. So theoretically, Tammy. See, I did that to Jaime. I did that to Tammy on the last show. I'll cut this part out. But you guys got to get the E out of your name. He's not laughing and worried.
Jaime?
Well, I was calling it was Jaime and Tam. What do we end up calling you?
Hammy, I think. Well, last week was Hammy.
Heme. Or Tame. Where was I going with this? Anyway, so more follow up. When I was reading Superman comic books, I remember Brainiac was a character that I kind of like gravitated towards. I would buy an issue if he was on the cover, kind of thing. Or I think there was strips of Superman in the newspaper at some points. Yep. I think so, right? So he was often in there. So we got on Gizmodo again. We saw a clip of a preview of what Brainiac's going to look like in Supergirl's world, right? So I can't remember if he was in Supergirl. I guess he must have been, right?
Yeah, Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes had a big. She was part of the Legion of Superheroes, so they're going to do. They introduced that later this season. The Mon-El comes back from the past.
Right.
He's got his wife from the 30th century, and they are part of the Legion of Superheroes, which was a very popular comic book series for a long time, especially as you say, in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it looks like they're going into the future and they're going to start showing us more characters from the Legion, which is I'm really stoked about. I loved that comic when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's funny, I kind of missed the first bunch of shows from Supergirl this season, somewhat intentionally. I just found I was a little tired of some of the plot lines, but I did catch up with some of the ones, and I saw one of the episodes where Ron-El comes back, and then I saw a bit of the crossover episode where they had the other evil world come in.
Oh, it was so good. That was such a good last year felt a little forced. This year was awesome.
Yeah. So where was I going with that?
Legion of Superheroes?
No, Mon-El and I missed that bit of
Saturn Girl. He brought back Saturn Girl too.
Saturn Girl, but the thing about Mon-El and his wife from the future coming back, I did see part of I caught part of the episode where they kind of Supergirl or what's her name, Kira and Mon-El get together, and they kind of like, well, it's too bad, and I'm with her now, and that kind of how it went down.
Yeah, so there was I guess it was the most recent episode before the break. Kira has a conversation with Mon-El's wife, and she says, he waited years in the future, he couldn't get over you. In your world, it's only been a short time, but for him, it's been years and years before he finally broke down and moved on because he never thought he was going to be able to get back to you. And so it puts a little bit of context around the fact that it wasn't like he was just like, well, I'm out of here and I now have a wife. But
sure,
yeah.
All right, we got a whack of things for you to go through here, Jonathan. So I'll dive in.
I'll try and go through it at breakneck speed so we can get to our Discovery recap. But shortly after our last episode, it was revealed that Game of Thrones is officially taking all of 2018 off. Mm-hmm. There will be no new Game of Thrones this year. They're going to come back with the 6 final episodes, which I hope, if they're taking a year off,
6
will be really supersized episodes. They're talking about doing them as, like jumbo episodes, but still just 6 more episodes of Game of Thrones to come, and we're not getting them until 2019. And they haven't given any indication when. There's been some conjecture that they'll come back into their sort of late winter, early spring, sort of April, May slot like they were in years past. But either way, that's a long way away. So that's a bit sad, but at the same time, hopefully it will be all worth the wait.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is that why there was only 7 episodes this season?
Yeah, I think they had got to the point where they felt like they didn't want to plow through the way they had been plowing through previous material. Right. And also I think it's a budgetary thing too. I think, they were spending a fair bit per episode, but now what they're doing is spreading the budget that would go over 10 episodes over 7, and now they're going to spend that budget, plus I'm sure they're going to spend some extra money on these final episodes, right. And they're going to spread that money around over 6, so that it lets them do bigger episodes, bigger storytelling, and use more special effects and big huge set pieces and everything. So hopefully that means we're going to go out with a bang, which is I guess what we're all hoping for at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we went out with a bang last time.
Yes.
Spoilers,
literally. But
yeah, there you go. All right, what's next?
So in the wake of Ridley Scott taking potshots at Blade Runner 2049 last time we spoke, he gave an interview to digitalspy.com, which is a British website, where he said that he's got plans for another Blade Runner sequel if they want to do another one, which is kind of strange after, he's decided that he wants to go back into this franchise. But I don't know, any appetite after seeing the Back to that Blade Runner world to seeing Ridley Scott dive back in?
No. No, stop it, George. Stop messing with it, George. No. Anyway.
Well, he hasn't personally volunteered to recut this movie yet, so that's probably
good.
Progress.
Well, that's good. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Got some news on some TV show renewals this week. Runaways, which is just completed its first season on Monday on Hulu, and next week here in Canada, because we suck apparently, is going to get a second season, so that's good news. I'll be honest, I've already watched the final episode and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I look forward to it coming back.
You did one of those things. I get it. Okay.
And there was news out this week that they are talking about a potential 6th season for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but there is rumblings that Inhumans is really on the bubble, which I don't think is going to come as a surprise to anybody, because it did not knock a lot of people's socks off. It got pretty seriously panned.
Really? Yeah, I totally didn't even watch it anyway. So.
Yeah, I liked that franchise, but I didn't even give it the time of day.
Okay, so quick comment. You kind of went over the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. real quick, and I like I said, I didn't watch last season at all, but I saw the preview of this season coming up, and like, holy mirror universe, like what the hell are they doing on that show?
Well, they flashed forward, so they're doing a whole different storyline. That
why wouldn't they just do a new show? Sorry, I'm applying logic.
Yeah, no, I think you are. I mean, it's funny because there's rumors that ABC wanted to cancel that show at the end of last season and just phase it out and I'd be done with it. And the rumor is, again, this is all pure internet speculation, but the rumor is that Disney told them no, you have to put that back on the show, back on the air for another season because A, we own you, and B, we own Marvel and we want Marvel to be on primetime television.
Everybody's
so right, ABC's revenge was to say fine, and we're going to move it to Friday nights where no one's going to watch it. But now there's talk that they might still come back for another season. So it's kind of strange, but I guess it's good to have genre TV. It's too bad that it's so distant from the movie cousins now, but
it's like way out there now, out in space.
Yeah, absolutely. In other TV renewal news, Fox has renewed The Gifted, which is the X-Men series that they've been running. That just finished up its run recently. So
have you seen any of it, that one?
I downloaded it, but I have not watched it yet. It's been on my radar to do, but it's shuffled down the list. Too many good shows keep popping up, Black Mirror and all these other things keep popping up, so it just keeps moving down the list. I have actually read positive things about it. I know a few people who enjoy it, so I will definitely give it a view. And it's nice that they're not hammering out 20 episodes. They're doing, I think they did 10 or 12, like a reasonably short season. So I'll definitely give that a look. Mad Men star Kiernan Shipka is going to be our Sabrina the Teenage Witch. We talked about Sabrina getting her own show on Netflix, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, based in this Riverdale world that they've gotten into. And so apparently it's Don Draper's daughter is going to be the star of this. And I think she seems like the right fit, so could be good.
She's teenage-ish and she's Sabrina-ish, and
she seems pretty much on model if you're trying to project the the comic book character to like real life.
Yeah, I know she's a good young actress. I enjoyed her work on Mad Men, but I must say it's not like she's bringing that audience with her to Sabrina. I don't think. I don't see those two things lining up. It's not like her like teenage fans of the Mad Men are going to follow her over because were there teenage fans of Mad Men?
Well, maybe the big draw will be the talking cat.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we didn't talk about the talking cat last time we talked about Sabrina, but what about the talking cat?
Yeah, what was the talking cat's name?
Oh, I can't remember, but that was weird.
Jaime, you got
Salem?
This.
Was it Salem? I think
Salem. That sounds right.
So I thought he was named after like the witch trials place. I think that might need a fact check because I'm going off the top of my head for that one.
Yeah. So who was the guy who did the voice?
Oh, see,
fact check.
I was gonna say thanks for that. I'll just get right to the fact check.
This will be our new game, Jaime. We'll just throw stuff at Jonathan.
That's excellent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Carry on.
Word out this week that the director of Deadpool, Tim Miller, is looking at developing a Kitty Pryde movie for Fox. Kitty Pryde, of course, has made her appearance in film in the X-Men franchise, played by Ellen Page, Canadian. So no word on whether or not she would reprise that role, and this whole merger between Disney and Fox may throw some wrinkles into this, but excellent to see Tim Miller back in that, working on those types of movies, because Deadpool was amazing. Nice to see, again, they're developing characters for good. Kitty Pryde was always one of my favorite X-Men, so really cool to see if they can actually do something with that character. I'd love to see where they take it.
Yeah, especially because they've already got some of the setup for Colossus in that Deadpool universe, so seeing some of her interaction with Colossus would be kind of interesting because they can cover a whole slew of different topics just from their relationship.
Yeah, I'm just hoping for Lockheed, the little purple dragon, to come along. He was always one of my favorites. Black Widow, story out of today out of the Wrap.com, that apparently they are thinking of doing a Black Widow, or they're developing, I guess, a Black Widow film finally.
Right.
So they've picked the screenwriter of Blacklist, Jack Schaefer, to write this. This is a woman, which is nice. A woman writing a woman's film, starring a woman. There's been talk that they would do this for years, so interesting that they do this. Now, I made a note that it's particularly interesting because there's a movie coming out the beginning of March March called Red Sparrow with Jennifer Lawrence that looks almost exactly like the origin story of the Black Widow from the comic books.
Really? Yeah.
You know, Russian dancer gets drafted into the, you know, like it looks, everybody just keeps calling it not Black Widow. Like it's just, you know, Red Widow, I guess is what we'll just split the difference. But yeah, it's funny that the timing of that has come out. Obviously, this is on the heels of the great success of Wonder Woman. Marvel's finally coming around to, you know, oh, we'll do a Captain Marvel movie. We'll finally do a Black Widow movie. Hey, wait, women should be the stars of these movies. Yeah,
but so the plot line of this sort of sleeper agent or you know, girls go off to school or guys go off to school and get trained as these assassin type people.
Yep.
Isn't that a plot line from something else too? Or am I thinking of Red Sparrow?
You're thinking of La Femme Nikita.
La Femme Nikita, thank you. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Which we've seen a couple of iterations of that one, right?
Yep. And I think they did that as Point of No Return at one point, I think was the movie from the 90s. What was her name? Fonda. Bridget Fonda.
Bridget Fonda. Oh, yeah.
Right. Which, you know, that was an enjoyable flick. But yeah, it's a bit of a tried and true. And again, like that's been a story in the comic books for years.
Well, it's Manchurian Candidate again,
right?
So,
yep. And I guess we're watching that right now in The Americans. We've got like, you know, there's
spoilers. I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that whole sort of, you know, taking these, you know, talented young people and turning them into whatever. But yeah, it'll be good to see if they can finally do that. I think that character has developed well across the Marvel movies. And yeah, I think it'd be great to see if she can finally get her own legs to stand on. My worry is that by the time they finally get a movie out there, you know, we could be facing a whole bunch of movies that will have gone down these same roads. So I hope that we bring some inventive storytelling to those anyways.
Sure, not just the Flappy Birds of Red Sparrows, eh?
You got it.
I mean, all right.
Deadpool 2, apparently there was some discussion about whether or not TJ Miller should be cut out of this film. He plays Weasel, memorably had a great scene in a bunch of great scenes, I guess, in the first one, as you know, the bartender at the bar where Deadpool hangs out. He's facing sex assault allegations, so there was discussion as to whether or not it would be appropriate to remove his part from this film. The producer Lauren Schuler Donner says no, that it's too late in the process. They've done their edits, and he's going to stay. So Lauren Schuler Donner, yes, got that right.
So Christopher Plummer wasn't available, in other words.
Yeah, so clearly they didn't have time to hire Christopher Plummer to come in and replay that role.
Right.
That's
too bad. Yeah, I wonder if that's going to affect Silicon Valley too, or is he out of Silicon Valley?
He quit Silicon Valley last year.
Oh, did he? Okay.
They actually, I don't know if you stayed up with that show, but they kind of wrote him out at his own behest because he wanted to pursue other things. But they gave him a send off towards the end of.
Yeah, it's too bad. I heard an interview with him on Q on CBC Radio here, and he seemed like a pretty intelligent guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. I've seen his stand up. I've enjoyed his work. It was obviously none of these allegations have been proven, but it's very disheartening to hear people whose work you enjoyed having any of that sort of shade around them. So hopefully, we'll get some conclusion on how that's played out, and we'll see where that goes. But for the time being, he's going to be in Deadpool 2, so we'll remains to be seen what comes from that. So.
Yeah, I think if they were hypothetically to say, all right, the heat has gotten too hot, we need to reshoot his scenes, it would be a very Deadpool sort of thing if they were to choose his Silicon Valley co-star, the guy who does the Verizon commercials now.
Yes, yeah.
And just like, don't even mention it, just like pretend it's the same person.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would be the best Deadpool thing ever to actually cast Christopher Plummer. Like, wouldn't that not be But just like without even a nod or
with
a
wig, curly wig,
just play it as straight as possible. I think that would be genius. So some sad news this week. We lost a Canadian actor, very famous Canadian actor. Donnelly Rhodes passed away this week at the age of 80. Donnelly Rhodes, best obviously known here in Canada for his roles on shows like Danger Bay.
Danger Bay, like 6 years, man.
Danger Bay. Yeah. And of course he was he was a long time. So he's been on a ton of shows, as you know.
Tons, yeah.
He was on X-Men, or X-Files. He was on Smallville. He had parts on shows like Cheers. He was on Soap, the long-running spoof of the soap opera genre, and he was on Battlestar Galactica. He was Doc Cottle for a long time.
He was also on an episode of The Star Lost, which is a classic Canadian sci-fi thing that I used to watch back in the day.
Yeah, and just again, sad to see somebody who's been on our televisions for my entire life for sure.
He'd kind of just show up, and he'd kind of show up, and you'd kind of go, oh, there he is again.
There he is.
Didn't even bat an eye. He's that guy that sort of played that third character that you needed to fill out your plot, right?
Yep. But born in Winnipeg and proud Canadian, lots of representation. Da Vinci's Inquest was, of course, a huge show here that was very popular, and so adieu to Donnelly Rhodes. And last but not least,
how to make your own blue.
How to make your own Luke's Blue Milkshake. Our good friends at StarWars.com this week posted a recipe for Thala-Siren milkshakes that are worth a trip to Octo. They give us a recipe for how to make our own blue milkshakes that look like they were pulled straight from the giant space walrus's teat to your glass. Anybody who's interested, it's up on StarWars.com. We'll put it in our show links. You too can make your own frosty green / blue milkshake
with or without whipped cream.
With or without whipped cream. For anybody else looking, there's also some great there's recipe for pork chops on there. There's Wookiee gingerbread men. There's all kinds of fun recipes on there. I went down the rabbit hole on it the other day. You can make up a nice porgan pie. There's some people here who are
Darth Vader dad cookies.
Darth Vader dad cookies. I cannot believe somebody gets paid to. There's all kinds of good stuff on here, but the blue milk recipes are just fantastic. So Jen Fujikawa has got lots of good stuff on here. So check that out if you get a chance. It's lifestyle and food writer for StarWars.com. That's got to be the best gig about.
Even Han Solo would love this Jabba-Kato toast.
Jabba-Kato toast. And on that note, I think it's time for our main event and into our Star Trek recap.
Spoiler warnings for those of you who haven't watched the episode 10, which just came out last Sunday, I guess, right? Of Star Trek Discovery, the episode called Despite Yourself. And first of all, it was directed by Jonathan Frakes, who we all know as Number One. And listen to Roundabout for an interesting anecdote about Number One on Roundabout. Anyway, so, I can start in and you guys can fill in the blanks because I'm sure I'll miss a whole bunch of stuff. But so they end up in this new universe after spoiler warning for if you haven't watched the show. They end up in a new universe at the end of the last, I guess, the winter break, as it were. So now we're back into the new thing, and where we left off, they didn't know where they were. So they start to do some charting, and they realize there's nowhere to be seen, and they're approached by I think they find other ships that have been blown up, and they're like bits of rebels and bits of Vulcans and stuff like that. And a Klingon ship approaches them, being helmed by Vulcans, if I'm not mistaken, and starts firing on them. Something about the Cooper and retrofit. I don't remember what that comment was about. So they discovered that all the ships in this particular universe have a different quantum signature, which is, I guess, a digital fingerprint of whatever, quantum drives. That their ship has a different quantum signature than all the other ones in there. And of course, Lorca says, "This is not our universe." And then trying to figure out the science about what went on, he kind of lets Burnham and what's the big tall guy's name?
Saru
know about how he's been researching the alternate universes that they've been finding through the jumps and the mycelial network.
What a coincidence!
And so they find out that they figured the 133 jumps that they did filled in the gaps in their maps. I've got a comment here that Stamets is basically offline because he's he's passed out and in and out of consciousness all the time. Lorca goes into the medical bay, and tells Dr. Culber that because of his relationship with Stamets, he's going to get another doctor to take a look at him. I'm not sure where they're going to find him, but and Culber's a little upset about that. Yeah, and then I just got Lieutenant What's His Name because I can't remember what Lieutenant What's His Name's name is.
Tyler.
Sorry?
Tyler. Ash Tyler.
Okay.
Yep.
Ash Tyler. Well, he's got this weird. He has the actual actor has a exotic name. Anyway, he goes in to get the Klingon data core, and I don't know why they send this guy on an away mission by himself, actually when there's Klingons involved, because of course he starts losing it and flashing back and has trouble, navigating. So he gets this Klingon data core back. He has all these flashbacks, and it turns out, they get fired on by a Klingon ship at some point in there, and it's piloted by Vulcans and Andorians, which everybody's going, what? And then he flashes through this weird prison sequence, and and then after he gets back, he's got the Klingon thing, and he goes to visit L'Rell in the detention, and she does this sort of, or actually no, I guess I'm going to let you guys take over here, because I wrote the bit about the Manchurian candidate stuff. She kind of says something to him like about a prayer.
Oh, I've got it written down here, so I can run you down.
Okay, sure, jump in there. Yeah.
So Tyler is out retrieving this thing, and he freaks out. He starts having flashbacks about the quote unquote torture that he got at the hands of L'Rell. He has told the crew in previous episodes that he was essentially tortured and raped by L'Rell.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when he goes to see her this time, he's very conflicted. He doesn't know what he's seeing, and he sort of says to her, I don't know what we did. She says, you know what we did it together. And then she repeats this phrase. She says, whom do we seek? And they both say, Kahless. How do we find him? Together. Kahless, give us light to see forever. Will he hide from us always? Never. Never. What is your name? And then he has this sort of flash to, I guess we can interpret that now that we're in Spoilerville, but he has this flash that looks an awful lot like he's transforming and seeing himself as another person. And then he sort of jars himself back to consciousness and says, what the hell is going on here? And she says to him, you have another name, say it. And the prayer should make you remember something's wrong. So we had drawn our own conclusions prior to the winter break about what the origins of Ash Tyler's experience was, and I think we got a really very strong indication as to where Tyler comes from, having gone through this flashback. So
right. So in the cafeteria afterwards, Michael Burnham drops "Isik for your thoughts," and of course they both comment on how they have no idea where that expression came from. They totally ripped it off from us. So they start looking. They find that their Vulcan data chips are inside this Klingon data source that they brought back, and then they start talking about what they found, and they find that they're in the middle of it. Their Earth isn't a federation; it's a Terran empire, and there's a bit of a theory coming later on from me, which you guys probably figured out as well too. And they're described as an oppressive, racist, xenophobic group of people. So they start to do some more research on who's still in this universe, and it turns out that Tilly is in fact the captain. If you remember a few episodes back when Stamets was going through his phases, as he would go in and out of jumps, he would have these sort of weird things that he would say to people. At one point, he refers to Tilly as captain, right?
Yep.
So, which I guess is a spoiler or whatever we call it, premonition of this.
Yep.
So, and of course, the claim is "Long live the Empire," and they do the actual mirror universe salute that we saw in the original original series Star Trek mirror universe episode. And at one point, so Tilly has to, when they come over the comms, it's like the episode where the original series cast is trying to go back and rescue Spock, and they're flying through Klingon space, and they have to pull up the book and really quickly improvise some sort of greeting for the people they're being interrogated by. So they get approached by the ISS by another ship, the Shenzhou, I believe, right?
Nope.
No. Okay, whatever. What's the name of the ship that approaches them?
That I don't know, but it was.
I thought it was the Cooper.
Cooper, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're right. I think
because they mentioned a comment. That's the comment I had earlier about Cooper being in retrofit, because they were wondering why the Cooper would be approaching them. Anyway, so Lorca has to sort of pretend that he's the engineer. Tilly has to pretend she's the captain, and of course Lorca puts on a Scottish accent, which is funny. And then they discover that they better start disguising themselves as people who belong to, or actually the ISS Discovery, which is what this ship is known as in this universe. And Michael Burnham is off lost, and so is Lorca's just run away because he's done bad things. So the cosplay fans of the show will be glad that they've now got a new set of cosplay costumes to work on. They have a whole new insignia. They have this new chest or sort of armor, decorative stuff. I think later on, the actress who plays Tilly described it as sexy gladiator murder gold.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
but how come they didn't have to grow beards?
I don't know that yet. And how come, like, why wouldn't Michael Burnham have like facial scars or something like that from somebody drawing a knife across her, forehead or something like little things like that. Like why would Cooper not go, hey, you shaved or something to her or whatever?
You shaved your hair and don't have facial scars.
Now, there was an interesting thing that they mentioned on Innerspace about the Defiant being in this universe, and I thought maybe you guys could explain that. But the Defiant is a Constitution class, I think originally from Deep Space Nine, right? Or maybe...
No, that was a different Defiant,
D&G?
Actually.
Okay. But there is a Defiant here that has something to do with... They were implied on Innerspace that it had something to do with a crossover episode.
With the that was from the Enterprise show.
Right. Oh, the Enterprise. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a 2-part episode of Enterprise that was all set in that mirror universe, which, Jaime, do you remember that well?
I remember bits and pieces, but yeah, I immediately, as soon as they said, oh, the Defiant, I said, oh, that's a little tip of the hat to Enterprise with, I guess we can spoil that one because it's more than a decade old.
Yeah.
In Mirror Universe there, I think from the Tholian Web incident, the Defiant from the original series era gets thrown back in time to the Enterprise era.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
they take it over and end up using that to take over and start causing havoc.
Yeah.
So there's 3 episodes here that apparently that tie into this, and the episode of the Enterprise is called "In a Mirror Darkly." That
was a 2-part episode. Yeah,
it was why the Defiant is here, and they also talk about DS9 episode called Crossover, which I think, but they had a few DS9s where they went into the mirror universe, right? And then on Voyager there was one called Living Witness, which is another one. These are sort of 3 sort of tie-in episodes from other series that tie into this new universe that we're in here. So coming back to the prayer should make you remember L'Rell, what's his name, and all that kind of stuff. They decide they have to return to the Shenzhou where Michael Burnham is now the captain, but she's lost in space somewhere. So they decide to when they meet up with the Shenzhou that they will pretend that they've captured Lorca, and they take him over she goes over with Lorca to the ship and confronts Captain Connor, who died in the original Battle of the Binary Stars.
Yep.
So they were able to bring the actor back, and his name is something unpronounceable, Zam Varthanopoulos or something like that.
Bartholomeos.
Yeah. Anyway, he comes. He's as the actor was happy to come back and play this character. He thought he was coming back to play the lieutenant again. He wasn't expecting to play the captain, but as he said in After Trek. But so he comes back, and they're in the turbo lift together, Connor and Michael Burnham, and they get into this major fight, and they duke it out, and Burnham ends up killing him, which is interesting. And just as a side note here, you kind of I think at some point the doctor said, what's her name? Ash Tyler, right?
Yeah,
goes to the medical bay, and he's talking to the doctor about Dr. Culber about whether there was something odd about his tests or whatever. And one of the things that mentioned, because we've all talked about this Manchurian candidate kind of theory, apparently they have a Manchurian test to test whether you've been, brainwashed when you're on a away mission. So apparently he passed that test. And by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this actor reminds me of Ralph Macchio. Does he not remind you guys of him?
Shazad Latif?
So, yeah.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit.
I can see it. I can see why you say that. Like if you put them side by side, you'd say, "Oh no way!" But
right,
it's kind of like the facial expressions he makes, and
yeah,
like we're talking like swarthier Ralph Macchio, especially.
Yeah, no, of course when he gets kind of squirmy, he gets like that. Anyway,
that pain thing that Ralph Macchio does. That I'm constantly wearing underpants that are too tight kind of experience.
Yeah, exactly. Wax on, wax off. Yeah. So at that point, there, Dr. Culber tells him, "You're not you. Like I've scanned you, and your organs and your bones have been modified, and there's scar tissue, and so on and so forth." And at some point in time, Stamets sort of said the enemy is here in one of his sort of elucidation moments or whatever you want to call that. So when Ash Tyler discovers that Dr. Culber suspects him of not being who he says he is, as Jonathan put forth months ago, he snaps his neck, and what's his name kills the doctor is what I said. And then my question was, at this point in time, my first thought that came to my mind is, are you really dead in the mirror universe when your neck gets snapped? And it turns out
I think
go ahead.
I think dead is dead, but that being said,
he could be like in a coma or paralyzed.
We heard his neck go crunch, which seems pretty bad. But then I think you watched After Trek, where Aaron Harberts, the executive producer, and Gretchen Berg, the co-executive producer, they both made comments about the fact that
he's not dead.
He's not dead. He's not 100% dead. said. And I read an interview with Entertainment Weekly that came out beginning of this week where Harberts told them, quote, "I can promise you haven't seen the last of him."
Right. And the actor too, I mean, he didn't quite come out and say it, but he did sort of say that there is some stuff coming up in future episodes. Wilson Cruz, I'm talking about.
Yep.
Said that there's things coming up that are in future episodes that were his favorite things to have filmed ever.
Yep.
So, and they showed his new look as the Mirror Universe Dr. Culber. I guess he's more like, they kind of equated him to the doctor in the Nazi War. I've forgotten his name now.
Mengele?
Mengele, yeah. So we'll have to see where that goes. Hopefully not too far.
Well, this is Dark Trek, so who knows?
Yeah, and so let's. I mean, that's it. Like, so here's the question for everybody here is like, so what do you think? Like, other Treks have gone into the Mirror Universe for the sake of, hey, wouldn't it be fun if Spock was like, sinister and Kirk had this machine he could kill people with, and that's how he rose to power. What do you think about this new Dark? I mean, the show ends with Michael Burnham actually becoming the captain of the Shenzhou, which is what what's her name?
Mary Wiseman?
No. Michelle Yeoh says to her in the very first episode, "I see you as the captain of the Shenzhou" at some point.
Yeah.
So more foreshadowing. That's what I was looking for before.
Yeah.
So here we are, and we see the end of the show, end of the episode. Michael Burnham sitting in the captain's chair of the Shenzhou.
Well, that's not where the episode actually ends.
Okay, well,
the episode ends with Tyler, who is fresh off of breaking the doctor's neck, theoretically killing him, ending up in bed on the Shenzhou with Burnham.
Oh, did I miss that?
And then we cut down to the torture decks on the Shenzhou, where we find Lorca inside an agony booth screaming his brains out. So both really dark turns. Ash has gone from clearly disturbed and unhinged to homicidal to now in bed with Burnham. And meanwhile, Lorca is not only
suffering
there, but he's suffering torture at the hands of this dark universe. So,
but he must have known, like, they talked about this on the Inner Space too. He must have known going into that, like surrendering as a prisoner, that he was going to be thrown into the brig and something bad would happen.
Yeah,
which sort of interesting character, moment for us, I think, right? As fans, right?
I think we had to know that he's shown himself to be pretty ruthless and twisted. Yeah. So I guess it's fitting with the character.
Right.
What'd you make of all this, Jaime?
Well, one, I really, really liked the episode. I thought it was really well paced. I think Frakes did a really good job directing and shooting the script. It definitely has a lot of moments that feel like they pay off for a lot of things that we've been, like it releases a lot of the tension that we've had. One being like, longtime fan theory, like, is Discovery in the Mirror Universe? We got a definitive answer. It's like, no, like they're from the regular universe and they go into the Mirror Universe. There's a little bit of a twist there. We got 95% proof that Voq is Tyler. Like, I guess there's still that 5% chance he's like Bob the Klingon that was like in the background or something. But
Voq is Tyler. Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's I'm with. I think it's closer to 99% after this week. But
right. Huh. Oh yeah, because they were close in the very beginning. Cause she comes out from the underbelly of the ship to sort of show her support for him in the beginning. Right?
Yeah, and she says she makes a comment about you're going to have to sacrifice more than you could ever imagine and do things you never thought you'd have to do, and it all fits with where this character is going and gone. Tie that into the flashbacks and the homicidal behavior, and it seems like a match.
That's a lot of cosmetic surgery, though.
Well, they talked about Culber says, it seems like they shrunk your bones. It seems like they changed your organs. Like, it seems like it was a pretty radical transformation if that's what they did, which again fits.
But it's a good thing in this universe, everybody has, 2 eyes, 2 legs, 2 arms, ears, penis, the whole bit. Yeah.
Well, they did do that whole really unnecessary exposition episode of TNG, right?
Yeah. The Guido shoots verse message.
That's right. Yeah. This is why we all have the same total anatomical corrections.
Yeah.
In this episode, well, 2 other things. One is that it has Captain Killy, which I agree. You will see tons of people cosplaying that. That was she's one of my favorite characters, and seeing that sort of moment was great. great. The other thing that has come up, sort of like fandom on Reddit and other forums, is an hypothesis that Lorca is from the Mirror Universe.
No question.
Oh, really?
This episode seems like it pushes really hard in that direction.
No question.
It's not 95% of the way there, but it feels like 70 to 80% of the way there, because it's like Michael Burnham and Lorca's equivalents in this universe are gone in mysterious circumstances. And Lorca already seemed kind of weird with his interaction with Admiral Cornwell, and seems like he's a little bit like we said early on that, like, you know, he seems like he's the bad admiral that you would see on TNG or Deep Space Nine, but like cranked up to 11. And this gives him an option either way to say, oh yeah, you know, he's from the Mirror Universe and he's been plotting to use Discovery in our universe in order to take that technology back or do whatever it is, right? Like for reasons, plot reasons. And they could also use it as a tease and a head fake to be like, oh no, he's just a damaged dude, and other things that happen. So they can sort of tease us along with this one for some time, I think.
Sure. So what about this? So here's the big theory that kind of I maybe you guys have seen this already, but or saw it coming. But at the end of Interspace, AJ Fry was talking about he was having a conversation with Space TV's Mark Asquith that Michelle Yeoh is the Emperor.
I think that would be great. I
could see that.
That'd be really.
There's
like, that's a major spoiler for anybody listening to this show, but if it's true, but that would be a good twist. I mean, like, again, it comes back to why would they have such an important actor and have all this promotion behind this show with her at the helm of the show? I mean, like, you know, admittedly, you know, Shanika Martin Green was a big character actor on The Walking Dead, and those of us who watch The Walking Dead know her intimately and know her well and know she's got the chops, right? But if you hadn't followed that series, why would you watch this show? And, you know, also Jason Isaac coming over is a big name too, but we didn't know he was coming until, you know, maybe the third or fourth episode, right? But we knew Michelle Yeoh was going to be in from the beginning, and why would they have her just to come in and get killed, right?
Yeah, it fits. I mean, we know that from that in the Mirror Darkly episode of Enterprise, episodes of Enterprise, that I think Archer was the Emperor.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But in this timeline, that would have been a long time ago. So I think it's safe to say that at some point someone murdered him and replaced him as Emperor, because that's how this universe rolls.
Right. So in that Enterprise episode, that there was a Terran Empire as well.
Yes. Yeah. The whole thing was actually set in the Mirror Universe. It wasn't about the Enterprise going into the Mirror Universe. It was the Mirror Universe's Enterprise encountering the Constitution class Defiant that came into the past.
Oh, okay.
So the whole thing was around the Mirror Universe's Enterprise and its crew.
Right. Huh.
Yeah, there's tons of theories about who the mysterious Emperor is. Michelle Yeoh, I think, is probably the front runner right now, because it would sort of thematically make a lot of sense considering some of the things that they're doing and sort of rearranging what's happening in the Prime universe. Other people have said, like, hey, we remember how that In a Mirror Darkly episode ends, so maybe it's Empress Hoshi Sato, who's like 130 to 150 years old now.
Yeah, that's true. She did end up on the throne at the end, didn't she?
Sato. Well, but then again, maybe she's
she would have to be pushing like 130. Yeah.
No, but I mean, she could be the grandmother or whatever, or mother of Michelle Yeoh's character. Who knows, right?
It's conceivable. Although, again, this universe is established that you get ahead by murdering. They established that Captain Killy got her nickname for stabbing her predecessor to death in his own bed. So clearly, this is a place where, you know, they don't necessarily care if you were the son or daughter of the king or queen.
No, I just meant, like, but then again, the daughter could have killed the mother or grandmother to take the place, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Ian McDermott for all we know.
Yeah.
You
know?
I think the second front runner theory is that it's Stamets, because he in the medical bay, he keeps talking about some weird palace stuff that isn't clear yet, and so people say, hey, well, maybe it's his palace, you know, like his alternate version's palace.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I said, I think I told you guys before, there's a book called Number of the Beast where Heinlein did a sort of thing where if you imagine that you've got, you know, X, Y, and Z axis, you have 6 possible universes if you just flop them, and he does that in the book where they find a way to jump between the various universes, and, you know, it's like in one case, you know, Britain is the world power, not the U.S., and so on and so forth, right? But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think they mentioned the part that really sort of caught my ear was when they were talking about what happened to alternate Lorca and alternate Burnham. So the story was that alternate Lorca tried to overthrow the Emperor. And they do say Emperor, not Empress, which I wonder about that. If that was supposed to be a male term, or if that was just a term. But they did specifically say Emperor. But they say that Lorca turned on the Emperor, tried to stage a coup, and Burnham was sent to stop him, and that Burnham was killed reportedly by Lorca's supporters. So that whole thread, following that through to that the Lorca we know is from this universe, is that Lorca went looking for a way to try and get a tool, weapon, or otherwise big enough to actually come back and take on the Emperor, does feed into this really well. So I think that's a theory that I'm willing to ride at this point. Yeah. But either way, this was a really strong debut for the second half of the season. Like, if we weren't in before, I think this is one of the strongest episodes. It definitely left me wanting more. I want to know where this is going. I loved Mary Wiseman's performance as Captain, the new Captain Killy, playing her counterpart. Hold your horses. It was just so it was so funny. She's so charming. She's so likable, and the way that they're having to negotiate their way through this dark universe is going to be really interesting. Look at this universe, and hopefully an expanded one. Again, the longest we've ever been in this universe is 2 episodes in a row, and that was a long time ago. It'll be interesting if they decide to stick around this universe for a while and really go somewhere with it, because we've never really gotten to immerse there.
Yeah, it's interesting. They were talking about the actress on her sort of way of playing sort of the autistic character. Apparently, there's one bit of film that they don't know what's going to end up with it, but she did 20 minutes eating a potato chip.
20 minutes of eating a potato chip?
They shot 20 minutes of film?
Yeah, like her with one potato chip, just like, how do I eat this potato chip, kind of like like silently, just, like a pantomime or a mime, whatever. Just, so that would be interesting to see. And they said it was brilliant. Anyway.
Wait for the box set.
Go. Gotta wait for the box set.
Yeah, exactly.
Now a 20-minute cut of Mary Wiseman eats a potato chip. Well, I'm jazzed. I'm definitely this show was sort of waning for me because I felt like it was kind of going along a predictable path, and I think we knew that this is where it was probably headed, but it's a very satisfying place. Even though we kind of had a feeling this is where it was going, it's still it was amazing how gratifying and interesting this universe was. I will say the production value of this show is fantastic. Like, where they took us here, the remodeling the bridge and the uniforms, and it really felt like they were spending a few bucks and dressing up.
You put some effort into it. Yeah.
It was good. I'm looking forward to where it goes.
Right. Cool. Any last thoughts there, Jaime?
I think it was a great episode to start the season again with. Like something like a mid-season break is sort of weird. I thought the mid-season finale was pretty good, but this was like they just started off the new year with a bang. It was great. Loved the episode.
Right. So do you want to talk about the TV shows, Jonathan?
Sure. So continuing from last week, we did our picks for what we plan on seeing this year in movie theaters, or perhaps on Netflix, or some other method of watching movies. We thought we would have a quick look at some of the 2018 TV shows that are coming up. I have made a short list. I'm sure you guys will have some additions here. I flagged some shows, and so I thought I'd get your sense of whether it's a show that you guys will watch every week, or something you will watch in a binge, or something that you will just not care at all about and will take a pass on. We started this episode by talking about the X-Files, which I know Tim has started into. I don't know if you're an X-Files fan, Jaime, but
I may not continue it. It was that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say brutal in the show notes,
it wasn't
horrible. Like Game of Thrones brutal. It was like, I don't want to watch anymore brutal.
It was like, I can't believe I'm watching this dribble, and the only redeeming bit was like right at the very end of the episode. It was painful to watch.
Interesting. So I was kind of more of a casual X-Files fan. I don't think I've watched anywhere close to all the episodes, but I've watched many, and I just couldn't get into the revival that came out.
Yeah, the revival. Well, the revival was a fun episode. Last year there was sort of a ridiculous episode, which is kind of where they used to go sometimes on the X-Files. There was a couple of new characters that got introduced, which were sort of Mulder and Scully clones, which were kind of they were interesting. They were sort of comic relief in a sense too. But this I don't know what the hell it was kind of a continuation of a story that they were developing in the last series, and it's also a continuation of a story that's been running through the whole thread of the X-Files, previous things. But I don't know. Tammy turned it off too. Like she couldn't get through it. She's a huge X-Files fan too. So it was like.
So the end is coming since Gillian Anderson and Chris Carter are out, and it's a good.
Well,
thing?
Let's put it this way. I think Gillian Anderson saw this episode and said, "That's it. I'm out.
Peace out."
That would be my fan theory.
So next up is January 16th. So that's next week. Black Lightning, a new CW show. It's apparently not at this point connected to the Arrow universe with the Flash and Supergirl and all that. They are having it stand alone, although they have not ruled out that it could be tied in down the road if they felt like it was appropriate. I was a fan of this character as a comic book character, and I've heard some good things. I've read a couple interviews with some of the actors who are playing parts, and it looks good to me. I think I will definitely watch at least the first episode and see where it goes, but seems like it's, good premise and interesting. That sort of hero, used to be a hero, has hung up the boots, gets sort of dragged back into it premise, but could be well done.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a watch. I find it kind of interesting that nowadays we can take these blaxploitation era characters like Luke Cage and Black Lightning and turn them into like modern properties that people can actually have fun with. And I have a tweet or a couple tweets here that I'll just read out. I'll see if I can get them into notes as well, where somebody was saying, "Behold, the first live-action black lesbian superhero in modern history. Her name is Thunder."
Yeah, that's Black Lightning's daughter. Yeah.
And then they continue on with, like, I'm not really familiar with this character. It says, "Will also feature the first live-action superhero lesbian relationship between two women of color. Anissa Pierce, which is Thunder, is the love interest of Grace Choi, who is a half-Amazonian Asian American with origins from the multicultural Egyptian Amazon tribe of Banamigdal. Not sure how that's pronounced. But I was like, holy smokes, like this is crazy progressive as a series.
Yeah.
So excited to see that. The character designs look pretty interesting too. The premise setup of the retired superhero being pulled back into things, and then having, I don't know who Thunder is, like his daughter.
It's his daughter, yeah.
Having that dynamic seems interesting, and I enjoy the CW series. I think I've said before that I watch Supergirl regularly. I've seen some Flash, some Arrow, and the crossover episodes and stuff. So interested to see where they take this one.
You can check this one out, Tim.
I don't know much about it. We'll see. Is it on Space or something like that? Or
I think here,
Netflix, maybe?
That's a good question. I don't know who's showing it here. We should look that up. Mm-hmm. We will report back next week.
And the other thing, a little sidebar. Am I mistaken, or didn't we talk about the fact that there was going to be a little bit of a mid-season break for Supergirl where Black Lightning was taking its slot in the lineup? And that seems to not be the case, because I think Supergirl is coming back on the 15th, which confuses me.
It is, but I think they are, I think it's actually, they're only doing a short run of Supergirl to the end of the month, and then the hiatus starts at the beginning of February. So I think they're all running simultaneously. I think actually Black Lightning is starting in Legends of Tomorrow's spot first, and then it's taking over Supergirl's spot.
Okay, there you go.
Because I don't think Legends of Tomorrow comes back until February or March.
Right, okay. Next up.
Walking Dead Season 8 Part 2, February 25th.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys been keeping up on this one? Or
I have. I think, Jaime, you're still behind, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just going to have to start like from the very beginning on Netflix and just read through, because comic continuity and TV show continuity is mixed up in my head. So
yeah.
What do you think about what do you think about Part 1, Season 8, Jonathan?
I mean, I have read that story already, right. and I did actually go back and reread Walking Dead last year. I don't think I went all the way to the beginning, but I think I started sort of at midpoint and caught up to right up to last month. And I really enjoyed that storyline in the comics, and I have enjoyed elements of it, although the storytelling method they used, they told the story in a very I guess they were trying to have all the events of all the episodes sort of overlap timelines with what's going on with the characters. I found it they didn't do, I think, a very strong job of establishing what they were doing off the top. So by the time you sort of caught up with, okay, these people are here, well, these people are here, well, these people are here, I felt like it was very disjointed. I think they could have done a stronger first episode to establish sort of where we are and what they were doing. Once it got up to speed, I was okay with it. No major sort of developments, I guess, at this point. Although I guess there was one major development at the end, which kind of caught me off guard.
I like the way it ended, but parts of this were hard to watch. Like, I mean, just from not hard to watch from a gore point of view, but hard to watch from a pacing point of view.
Yeah, it was a little all over the place.
A couple of episodes were like I could have skipped a couple of episodes and lost much.
I think the best meme that I saw this week was that scene from The Last Jedi where Luke is standing at the edge of the cave and he says, "It's time for the Jedi to die." And they put in a second version of it where he says, "And also it's probably time for The Simpsons and The Walking Dead to give it up too."
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, this is a weird show because it feels like in one way it could sort of keep going ad infinitum. And there's some, to be fair, like I've been reading that comic book since virtually day one. And it is very interesting to look ahead to, right now they're in the early 100s of the issues as far as where they are in the TV storyline. There's another 75 issues or 6 or 7 years worth of content that Robert Kirkman has written. And some of the stories they do are really interesting and go some neat places. Whether or not we will get a season 10, 12, 14 of Walking Dead, I think as long as it keeps making money and, they don't do something silly like kill off Norman Reedus, then I think people will continue to watch. I must say, I'm not a huge zombie fan. I'm not a huge gore fan. I like the comic book because I like the idea of how you exist in a world that continues past the apocalypse. But I'm not sure the show does that as well, which sounds weird because you'd think that with that time and the characters and the actors, you'd be able to do more, but it feels like they do less.
Well, it's funny the after Talking Dead show, right? That they do.
Yeah.
They have a vignette where they say goodbye to all the people that they replay all the kills, right?
Yeah.
And to me that's like the least reason why I watch this show. I mean, I could do. I mean, yeah, okay, you got to have special effects and you got to have I mean, I'm amazed at some of the zombies that they make, but I don't really need to see them pop their heads off all the time, and it's not why I watch the show.
Yeah,
it's the characters, it's the story, it's the it's like the development of Maggie in this show.
Yep,
was like amazing and about time too, right? Sort of thing.
Yep,
that's what I meant by what happens at the end, right? Yep. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
no spoilers.
As much as I'd like to, I will probably continue to watch the show. I've contemplated a few times that the premiere from last season was a real hard watch. There's been some hard watches. There's been some developments where I think, like, why am I putting myself through this? But then there are great character episodes and the actors are wonderful, and it pulls.
This is one show that I watch live. This is one show that I actually sit down on Sunday night and watch.
Yep. Yeah. iZombie season 4, February 26th. I am an iZombie fan. I don't know if either of you guys watched that.
I haven't seen any of them.
I know it's on Netflix now, so I would encourage you. It's based on a Vertigo comic book series, DC's Vertigo imprint. It was a good comic book. It's a great TV show. It's by the same creator as Veronica Mars, which was one of my personal favorites. It's both. It's typical CW fare. It's got a nice mix of melodrama and drama, action comedy. Really enjoyable characters. The actors really get their parts. It's a lot of fun. I am 100% on board for season 4, and will encourage many other people to continue to watch that because it's vastly underrated. Jessica Jones season 2, March 9th.
Totally.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch that one.
Yeah. I think I don't know if you guys agree. I think that was the strongest of the. I really enjoyed Daredevil, but I love Jessica Jones. I thought Kristen Ritter hit it out of the park in that, and it was fantastic. Krypton, March 21st. We got our first trailer for Krypton this week too, which I thought looked okay, but my 14-year-old said looked like the best show he's ever seen. So
really,
yeah.
You should let him watch Superman 1 then.
Yeah, again, that was going to be a tough sell for me, the idea of a show based on Superman's great-grandfather, but it looks like it's got a decent production value. I think I would probably give the first episode a watch at the very least.
Yeah, I think we have Isaac Asimov to blame for all the prequels, because he wrote a couple of prequel stories, The Foundation and stuff like that, and they were actually pretty decent stories. So
yeah, any story where the answer is, and then they all died is... I don't know.
Yeah, having prequels is tough for that reason. But you said it was his grandfather, not his father. So we
it's either his grandfather or his great grandfather. I can't recall from the outline that I read, but it's generationally separated.
So what's so good about a show where you go to pick stuff up and it's really heavy, as opposed to being on, and you can't leap into the sky and fly.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think people are forgetting. This isn't the Adventures of Superman where you get a superhero character. These on Krypton, they're just people. Yeah, it's sci-fi. It's, like, we'll see. But, again, I will say the trailer looked okay. So I'll probably check out the first one. Legion Season 2 is coming in April. I don't know if either of you guys got a chance to watch Legion. It's an FX series. I really dug it. It was based on the X-Men universe. Very dark, very weird, but extremely interesting. Very, very visually compelling show. The same creator of Fargo, the TV show, which has gotten a lot of accolades.
Fargo is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if they'll be doing a catch up at some point, but it was a short run. I think it was only 8 episodes or something like that. But it was really one of my highlights. It was my runner up for show of the year last year, for new show of the year.
Yeah. So. Didn't Ewan McGregor just win a
Golden Globe
for Fargo?
For Fargo,
He was great in that. Yeah.
To be fair, I won a Golden Globe this year, so
All right.
Star Wars Rebels.
You looked good in your black dress too, by the way.
I did. I think. I pulled it off. Star Wars Rebels, the finale. There are, I think, 6 episodes or 5 episodes left of Rebels. They are building towards their series finale. This is going to be the end of the run. I don't know if you guys are up to date on that series. It's actually something I've enjoyed.
At the end they all die, right?
Well, no. It seems to be building towards Rogue One. It feels like they're going to leave off.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Well, in the end of that one, they all die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this band. It'll be interesting to see what they do. This is ostensibly a kids series, but they haven't been shy about killing off characters, and they haven't been shy about putting people through the ringer. I wonder if they've established 2 of these characters are if not in name, in practice, Jedis, and Master Yoda says, "I am the last Jedi" when Luke is there. So in these last 5 episodes, dare they kill off a couple of these characters over the last little run? That it'll be interesting to see. They've already brought back Darth Vader, and they've introduced some dark themes. I wonder if they're going to go there, and I'm kind of keen to see what they try and pull out on the last few episodes. Castle Rock. Castle Rock is a new series that is going to be set in the Stephen King universe. So it's apparently going to bridge.
It doesn't star a bunch of little Muppets, right?
Yes. There's these little characters. They sing songs. They have these little doozers. They're great supporting characters. So apparently it's set within the realm of the Stephen King books, as they do have an overlapped universe. Whether or not they're going to be able to pull in, from places like It and Dark Tower and some of these larger pieces. They've already talked about, Needful Things and Pet Sematary and some of these different other properties. I'm wondering how they pull this. I got to be honest, as an experiment, I'm kind of curious to see how they pull this all together. I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, although I think, like a lot of other people, he was just so part of the culture in the 80s and 90s. It's hard not to know a lot about the characters. I wonder how this is all going to come together in one joined TV show universe. You guys have any interest in watching that?
No.
I'll give it a try. The Stephen King universe stuff is interesting to me, so I'll give that a try.
Westworld Season 2.
Yeah, I'll watch that one.
Yeah?
I didn't see Season 1, so I'm not going to see Season 2 until I see Season 1.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What was your impression of that one, Tim?
The ending was kind of weird. The sort of twisty character connections at the end were interesting. It was an interesting plot idea. Some of the things you kind of could see coming, but it was good. It was an interesting sort of story.
Yeah, I found it very visually
it was amazing.
Sumptuous. It was a great, glorious looking show.
Great actors and great play on stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
I felt sorry for the androids, whenever, or whatever we want to call them, whenever they were down in the shop being fixed up.
Yeah,
like that was kind of demeaning. But again, they're androids, I guess. But I kept seeing them as actors or as beings. Sentient beings of some type, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the one episode where the one tries to escape and can't get far enough away.
Yeah.
That was sort of an interesting twist there.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to say, I was engaged enough. I think you're right. I think the actors really elevated the material. I think there was so many strong performances.
Oh, the special effects are amazing too. Yeah.
There's a lot to like there. I wonder where they go, if they go the obvious places or if they go somewhere different coming back. But definitely enough to get me to come back and watch some more.
But the big name guy, what's his name? Hannibal Lecter. He died at the end of that, right? I believe, right?
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Well, you saved Jaime a watch. It's okay.
Was that Yul Brynner's character? Like,
no.
I don't know how similar it is.
There's a twist in that one. That Yul Brynner character there's a real interesting twist in that one for sure.
Yeah,
you should watch that. They save that for the very end. Yeah. They do it really well. Did it fool you, Jonathan?
No. No, it didn't. It didn't. I mean, I really have. I try and work these things out in my head. But that didn't make it less satisfying. It was a really enjoyable experience. And as I say, it was a show that I made an appointment to watch on Sundays just because it's the best thing on my television. It just looks fantastic. It's just so engaging to look at. Very inventive and some amazing effects.
Yeah, it's way better than the 70s movie. Well, the 70s movie it was good in its own right too.
Well, and they teased us. They offered up a few little teases this year for other worlds.
Like future worlds,
places they could go for season 2. Which, if they go to those places, they gave a little taste of where. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
there's a trailer out right now?
There is no trailer out there, but they actually at one point towards the end of the season, they're walking through the building, and you see glimpses of some of the other robots that are from other worlds. And if they go to some of those worlds this year, if they push beyond simply Westworld, that could be really cool.
Yeah. It's not your parents' Disney World.
No, indeed not. We've got a trio of Netflix shows, so we can just check these off all in one big go. So Luke Cage season 2 we're going to get, Daredevil season 3 we're going to get, and God save us, Iron Fist season 2 we're going to get. I'm definitely on board for the Daredevil and Luke Cage. I guess I would have to see what they come up with for Iron Fist season 2. It was okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed at least the first half of Luke Cage season 1. I'll watch season 2. I've not seen the first 2 seasons of Daredevil, but I think I got the gist, from comic book history that I know and from the Defenders series that I think I can just pick up.
And of course,
season
the
3.
awesome what's his name movie where he met what's his name?
Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to watch Iron Fist because the character was by far the weakest one on the Defenders crew, and I didn't see season 1. And if I see good reviews, maybe I'll give season 2 a chance, but I kind of doubt it. I'll probably end up skipping that one.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if they're gonna put the money back into it, and they know they got smacked around on it. I wonder if they're gonna try and do something different, better otherwise. Like, you can't be that tone deaf to bring that back for season 2 and not try to go somewhere. So maybe it'll be worth a watch. I don't know. And Tim, you had a few picks for
just quick ones. The Expanse is a show I've been watching for a few years now. I think it's coming to season 3. So if you like Dark Mirror, you'd like The Expanse as well. Interesting story. Travelers, as I said before, I'm not sure if they're on a break or the season's over, but they ended on a really interesting cliffhanger, so we'll have to see where that one goes. And of course, Electric Dreams, I'm watching those. I don't know if you guys have caught up on those yet, but they dropped 2 shows this week, and I think there's only a few more to watch before the season. And of course, Black Mirror, you guys have to catch up so we can talk about Black Mirror.
Yeah, I finally watched USS Callister, and I finally watched San Junipero, which might be the best hour of television I've watched in.
Which one is that one?
The girl from *Halt and Catch Fire*. It's set in the 1980s. She's shy girl. She meets a party girl. They go on adventures together. I don't want to spoil too much.
This is Black Mirror.
Yeah, it was from last season. It was the fifth episode of last season.
Okay, no, I'm more caught up on that. So I have to go back and watch.
Have you watched that, Jaime? I don't want to throw spoilers.
I don't think I have. I've only seen the first 2 seasons and maybe 1 episode of season 3.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what you're talking about either. So I'll have to go back and watch those 2.
1 and 2, and then I took a long time to get to season 3. But everyone I talked to was like, "Oh my god, this episode! Oh my god, this episode!" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll get to it." And I finally got a chance to watch it last week, and it is glorious. It is so well done. It's so well acted. It's just beautiful and haunting and deserving of all the praise it got. It's such an excellent hour of television. Highly recommend everybody checks it out. It's San Junipero episode.
Anyway, okay, so let's have a quick look at our picks, and then we'll wrap up. So what do you got there, Jonathan?
Well, my pick was one we discussed earlier. Black Lightning makes its premiere on January 16th on the CW in the States. And while Jaime tells us his pick, I'll see if I can find out where it's airing here in Canada. But looks like an interesting spin on that character, and definitely one that I'm going to tune in for.
Yeah, so I've got Godzilla Planet of the Monsters that is coming out later this month. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's the 17th on Netflix. it's a Japanese animated film where the premise is that humanity has had to leave in exile from planet Earth because Godzilla just took over the whole planet and created this planet of monsters. The tagline is like, this is like the biggest version of Godzilla ever, and so humanity is coming back. And at least from the gist I got from the trailer, it seems like the main character, the hero guy, is got some sort of personal grudge against Godzilla for this, and it felt a lot like if you took Godzilla and put it in a blender with Attack on Titan, if people are familiar with that series, where you have a hero character, a teenage-ish, very youthful character who's got a grudge against giant monsters and wants to take them down. It looks like it'll be some fun, so I'm going to watch that when it comes out.
I just had a look, and believe it or not, our good friends at Netflix is going to be airing Black Lightning here in Canada, although it says season 1 premieres January 23rd. So again, we are a week late on these shows, just like what we're doing with Runaways and some of the other shows. When are these companies going to learn that we live in a world where it's waiting for a week behind when these things get released, and the amount of saturation we get on the internet, that is a huge middle finger to our country. That is just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, if it was any other country other than Canada, where you might say, oh, well, they have to like translate and localize. I'm like, it's fine. You know, I don't just run it as is. You don't have to localize it at all for Canada if you're showing it in the US. And
yeah, like
at best, you're only sort of pretending that like, oh, okay, well, you know, like we show it on distribution here, and then by the time we get it for what's essentially free and on international Netflix, I'm like, yeah, but the people who are pirating this stuff, they've already had it the day after it came out in the United States. It's really just processing time to rip, re-encode, and re-upload that you've saved there.
Well, not to mention the fact that like the number of websites that will have all kinds of recaps and spoilers and everything else. Plus, we're going to end up with podcasts and all these other mediums that will be delving into this. Like a week is an eternity in this modern age for content to wait. Like, you know, they did this with Runaways, and I thought, well, at least with Runaways, you can at least put a small rationale on the fact that, well, that's because they're doing broadcast television here versus a streaming service in the United States. Okay, I can stomach that. But in this case, we're talking about going from a television station in the United States to a streaming service. It makes no sense.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that like it all has to do with how shows are bought and rights to them. It's not necessarily the shows, but you're right. The producers or the people who are putting the show into market are the ones that should insist on having same release dates across the board. Because you're right. I mean, why would a Canadian bother to wait a week if it's really a compelling show, right?
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid Game of Thrones should have learned this years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, and we used to deal with this really badly. You know, early 2000s, we had a real epidemic of American networks not just waiting a week, but waiting like at times
6 months,
months to show us American shows in an era where you could, you know, go and get pirated copies, or you could download, or, you know, stream, or streaming wasn't so big then, but you could find ways to watch this content. Right now, CW shows its shows on its website within a few days of airing it. If you have a VPN, you could just watch the shows. So why do I need Netflix for that? Like, that's, I'm going to climb too high on my soapbox here, but this has always bothered me, and this is off the heels of doing this with Runaways. I'm gold.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're going to end up with this whole, we're going to lose the net neutrality thing, and then, you know, because these guys they just can't figure out how to market this stuff, right? Yeah. So how to actually get it out to market, I mean, right?
Dopey.
Dumb. It's dumb. Well, because it's maybe different in the States, but in Canada, like, you know, we're still within our legal rights to stream content, right? So there's no, you know, like you
avast.
Yeah, exactly. So have at you.
Yes.
Alrighty. Okay. So hey, how many people want to find you on the interwebs? Where would they look?
I'm on Twitter as @DevWithAHair.
Okay. And Jonathan, if people want to get a hold of you,
I'm on Twitter as @JPK News.
All right. I keep meaning you should say @DevWithAHair one of these times just to throw me off.
I'm going to memorize Tammy's
Dev without the hair,
just to throw it in there and see if you're paying attention.
Dev with the hat. Yeah. All right, so as I usually say at the top of the show, my name is Timitra. I am TIMMITRA on the Twitter machine, and that is the best way to get a hold of me. So until next time, we'll see you guys in the future. Up, and away to the Batmobile.
Bye-bye.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, bye. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see episode show notes, visit the Spockcast website at spockcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter at Spockcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpockcast. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount on patreon.com/Spockcast. You can find out details on how to help us out on our website at Spockcast/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future. Just got a whole bunch of abuse about the way we say sorry on the last podcast.
Yeah? From whom did you get abuse?
Oh, well, because it was Tammy. We were interviewing an author from Kentucky, and she's another fantasy writer, and yeah, we just got into the whole, you guys Canadians always say sorry.
Yeah, well, you guys are Americans. You should say sorry more.
Well, it's because I corrected her on her pronunciation of A.
What's up with that, eh?
I don't know, A. Yeah, it's pretty bad when you see it on. Like I was watching Shameless, the last episode. What's his name? What's the name of the actor in that?
Shameless?
Yeah.
Oh,
the guy from Fargo.
Yeah.
William H. Macy. I knew there was an H in there somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, he's his character is his latest scam is to help refugees get into Canada, and then while he's there, buy drugs for his American friends and bring them back down because EpiPens are like half the price or whatever.
Yeah.
So they get caught by a couple of Mounties, and they're wearing like the red jackets with the the Dudley Do-Right hat.
Yeah, of course they are.
Which, of course, you and I both know our Mounties look like policemen,
Yeah, so, well-armed policemen at that.
Yeah, so, those of you Americans who think that they run around with... They only do the dress uniform when they're on their horses doing a parade, but, when they're arresting your sorry asses, they look like cops.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to come to Canada and try and cross the border.
Yeah, all are welcome. Just cross legally, please.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a good story on the CBC today about the refugees from America. And,
oh, yeah?
And by that, I mean regular Americans who are just looking for a way out.
Yeah, the Fugees. The Fugees.
As opposed to all the other ones are getting kicked out.
Yeah. Well, did you hear the latest thing about if you're a naturalized American and your fingerprints weren't digitized, they've got some sort of thing now where they're taking back their citizenship. Yeah, so
right for government error, not like, oh, hey, it's not quite fully legal. You should come back within some period of time. Otherwise, after which we will revoke. Instead, it's like, no, just revoke. It's like, what? That's not a reasonable response.
Yeah. So, but naturalized American, does that mean that they've been living there for a long period of time? And do you have like a citizenship ceremony kind of thing, or?
Yeah. So typically you'll go through some sort of almost like a training program or a schooling,
right.
I think.
Yeah. You learn the Pledge of Allegiance and all that kind of stuff. And
it's like the TLDR sort of version of what you would have hypothetically gotten going through, I think, probably elementary school and middle school sort of history class.
Or you could just live in Canada and learn, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and the government to which it stands, indivisible under God,
See? You don't know it well enough. Like, we catch you real quick, Tim.
Oh, do you? Okay, well, we can sing your national
anthem. It started off real good.
When your singers break, I wasn't really trying, but when your singers break down and they can't sing the anthem, Canadian audiences will pick it up.
Yeah, that one we know from hockey games. We're good at that one.
Yeah.
we don't have to do that other one in the morning, but we do know that one from our hockky games.
Yeah, they're always concerned about whether, that your Mexican cousin has got a good seat because they all stand up and say, Jose, can you see, right?
Yeah.
Well, because I don't know if you guys have been watching Black Mirror, and
I caught up on Black Mirror a little bit. I'm still a few episodes behind, but I watched that one with the USS,
the questionable one,
whatever.
Yeah,
that was good.
Have you seen that one, Jaime?
No, I haven't seen any of the new.
Callister.
That one's not going to go away. That one's going to be out there for a while.
Callister was great. It was really interesting.
Didn't you find? But you see the twist that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
What a twist!
Yeah. Huh?
What a twist!
What a twist! Yes. Now it's going to ruin it for. We don't want to ruin it for Jaime, but
every episode of Black Mirror is about a twist. Come on, we're not spoiling.
No. I'm talking about the politically incorrect plot line. But anyway, the undertone.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be looking for that too. Ruined it for him.
Gear Patrol calls their new dive watch the best sub-$500 dive watch. Full stop. Men's Health rated them as the most stylish solar watch in the game. Who are we talking about? It's Movement. They're leveling up your gift giving with the sleekest watches you can buy and the biggest deals of the season. Shop 30 to 50% off Movement's innovative California clean watches, jewelry, and accessories with fast free shipping and returns now at MVMT.com. That's MVMT.com.